In my last video, I went into detail about how I think we are heading towards a serious financial crisis. I talked a lot about the data, and to be honest, I could be completely wrong. I am not a fortune teller or a psychic, so I could be wrong. But I will admit a lot of the data right now is pretty concerning. So I do still stand by what I said, but I could be wrong about the timing of it all. Maybe the next 2 years our economy and the stock market and the job market all look great. Maybe the big crisis that I am talking about does not happen until 2028 or 2030 or even later on. But regardless of what happens, I think it is really important to make yourself recession-proof, especially when you are in your 20s. So today we are discussing exactly that, how to protect your future without losing your mind. But before we jump into the video, comment down below and tell me the truth. Do you feel prepared for a recession right now? Why or why not? I would love to hear your honest thoughts. Now, before we talk about strategy and planning on what to do if we go into a recession, we do need to understand one thing, and that is the psychology of a recession, because math is easy but staying sane is hard. Recessions are not just economic events, they are massive psychological events that trigger our lizard brains. And what happens to a lot of people is that when the economy gets tight, they panic and throw their strategy out the window. They cut everything out, they stop investing, and they freeze, and they wait for things to get better, which is a huge mistake. And so while the average person tends to do these things, wealthy people do the exact opposite every single time. They stay calm, they focus on fundamentals, they look for opportunities that everyone else is too scared to take, and they prepare instead of reacting to the headlines on their phone, which is the main reason why I am making this video so that we can get prepared in case if something does happen in the near future. And if you can master your reaction and be prepared for these things, you already have a huge advantage over most people. And in your 20s, your biggest asset is not actually the money in your bank account. It is your adaptability and your ability to pivot without having a midlife crisis. It is a lot easier for somebody in their 20s that is single and does not have any kids to change directions. It is a lot easier for them to pivot compared to somebody that has a mortgage, or has 3 kids or a 20-year career in one dying industry. Recessions reward people who can move, learn, and adapt quickly. And that is exactly what we are going to build today. So one of the first things I believe you need to do when preparing for a recession or a financial crisis is build up a stack of cash, because in a recession, cash is not just comfort, it is power, it is freedom, and it is safety. So let us talk about the emergency fund real quick and why I believe you need to build this up right now. I want you to think about this in 3 levels because big goals are easier when you break them down. The first one is the micro cushion, which is your basic survival layer. What I mean by this is try and save up between $500 and $1,000 as fast as possible. I am not saying you need to save this up immediately, but try to at least save up $1,000 over the course of 1 or 2 months. And this is going to protect you from dumb emergencies that usually ruin your month. Things like having to buy a flight last minute, or maybe your tires go flat, or there is a surprise bill that comes in. And these are not things that are super expensive. They are just little one-off things that are very common in life. And once you get past level 1, this is going to kind of keep your life stable because you at least have $1,000 to fall back on. Now, once you save up that $1,000, the next thing I want you to do is go to level 2, and that is building up some real stability, which is 1 full month of expenses. And this is going to protect you from losing 1 paycheck, or let us say your hours get cut or whatever might happen. You want to have at least 1 month of expenses just sitting there doing nothing. So let us pretend you save up $1,000. But 1 month of expenses for you is actually $3,000. Now you are going to try to save up an extra $2,000 and you are already a third of the way there. Obviously, somebody with a family and kids, those expenses might be higher, maybe more around $4,000 or $5,000. But sit down. Look at your bills, look at your groceries, look at everything you spend in a month, and try to save up that 1 month of expenses. Because again, this could protect you if your job situation gets weird. So that is level 2 as you go from the micro cushion to more stability that gets you 1 month of expenses. And then we are going to go to level 3. And this is finishing out the actual emergency fund. And this is building a full emergency fund, which is typically 3 to 6 months of expenses. This is the ultimate thing to do because this will protect you from layoffs or long job searches. And if you do think the job market is going to be really bad, then save up more months. Like save up more about 5 or 6 months versus 3 or 4. If you are feeling nervous. And then when thinking about the emergency fund, you do not need to build all 3 at once. You just have to build them in order so you do not get overwhelmed. Because once you save up the $1,000, there you go. You got that micro cushion. Then you go to 1 month of expenses. Let us pretend that is $3,000. So then you get there. You are at level 2 and feeling pretty good. And then let us say you want to get at least 3 months of expenses. That is going to be $9,000. Assuming 1 month was $3,000, obviously you just multiply by 3. And once you build them in that order, then you are going to have a very nice cushion. And that is exactly what you want when the world feels like it is falling apart. And the reason this matters is because in a recession, job security becomes very unpredictable. And having that extra cash gives you the ability to breathe and to make better decisions. It means you do not have to accept the first terrible job offer that comes your way just to pay rent. It gives you a little bit of leverage as well as a lot of safety and some room to breathe. That way you are not immediately drowning in bills and just stressed out of your mind. So that is the first thing you are going to do. Focus on building that emergency fund. Now let us talk about trying to recession-proof your income. Because if the economy does go bad or goes sideways for a while, your income is the first line of defense. And in a recession, the people who get hurt the most are the ones with only one source of income. Especially if that income is tied to a very vulnerable industry like luxury goods or travel. So like right now, technology would be an industry that is very vulnerable. Tons of tech companies are laying people off, and we are starting to see this in a lot of companies outside of tech too. So let us break down how to protect your income in 3 different layers. The first layer is making yourself layoff resistant at your job. At the end of the day, none of us can control the global economy and what is going to happen. But we can control how valuable we are to the person signing our checks. And in your 20s, the fastest way to protect your income is to make yourself very hard to replace. You want to be somebody at your job that is the person that just solves problems. You are super reliable, you learn the tools that your team uses, or maybe you find new tools. Maybe you go out and you find different tools that nobody on your team knows how to use and you utilize those. You communicate clearly, you document your wins, and you just make your boss's life easier in general. If your boss can lean on you to do a lot of different tasks, they are most likely going to protect you. They will protect you if there are layoffs because they don't want to lose the person who makes them look good. Recessions force companies to cut the bottom performers, not the people who are essential. So that is the first layer, being the GOAT at your current 9-to-5. Now the second layer here is building a recession-proof skill stack. And so skills that survive recessions include people that are really good at sales or copywriting, data analytics, coding, financial modeling, project management, and AI tools are all huge right now. You will hear about artificial intelligence a ton these days, so people that know it are very valuable, and anything that can just save a company time or money is going to be in high demand. And I am sure I missed a lot of skills here, so there are a ton that you can use, especially if you just understand how to use AI to make yourself better at a job. So for example, if you are really good at data analytics but you know how to use AI to be even better, then that is perfect, because you are doing the work of 3 people for the price of 1. So try to just pick one high-value skill, get very good at it, and then stack another one on top. And your 20s are the perfect decade to build your skill stack because skills compound just like money. Once you learn a certain skill, you are always going to know it the same way. You always know to ride a bike, so then you can just keep stacking skills on each other until you are an absolute machine. So that is layer 2, and now layer 3 is going to be adding a small and simple side income. I am not talking about some giant business that drains a ton of your time. I am talking about something that is small and stable and low overhead. So whether that is freelancing or maybe content creation like what I am doing right now, maybe you sell digital templates online or you can build websites for people or you can do tutoring. Or maybe you are a good video editor, or you are really good at social media and you can help people there. And even if it is not any of that stuff, maybe you are into fitness and personal training, or if you are into flipping items. I know a lot of people that do that for extra cash. And even if you are not good at all that stuff, you could also just rent out different things that you own. Because one extra income stream can be the difference between panic and peace. So first you build that emergency fund, then you figure out how to recession-proof your income. Now let us talk about mastering recession investing, which is where the real wealth is made. And this is where a ton of people panic and sell everything at the worst possible time. But this is where the opportunity truly is, if you have the stomach for it. And the number 1 rule of recession investing is to not stop investing. Keep investing super consistently every single month without fail. And in your 20s, recessions are actually a massive blessing. Again, assuming you still have your job because prices are lower so you get more shares per dollar. And also you have decades to recover your money, so who cares what the market does today? So it does not matter if the market drops by 30 or 40% in 1 year, because you are not going to retire in 2 or 3 years. You still have 20 or 30 or 40 plus years to let your money grow and bounce back. And history shows it is most likely going to bounce back within a year or two anyways. And the more money the quicker you are going to get back to breaking even. So that is another thing you want to know there. Definitely invest consistently. That is the #1 rule that will make you rich while everyone else is crying. And so how you can do that is by trying to automate your investing as much as possible. Just use dollar cost averaging and let the machine do the work for you. And so what I mean by this is just set automatic contributions into index funds or ETFs. Make sure you are putting money into retirement accounts and getting that 401k match. Me personally, I love the Roth IRA, and then I also have a Roth 401k with my job. And don't even try to time the market because you are not that smart, and neither am I. Don't look at whether the market is green or red that day. Just keep investing every single time you get paid or as soon as possible. The next thing you want to do is make sure that you avoid big emotional moves. Do not pull all your money out when you see a scary headline on the news. Do not stop investing, and please do not try to wait until things get better before you buy. Just keep putting money in consistently because the market usually recovers before the news turns positive. I promise you long-term this will play out great if you just stay the course. And one thing I got to mention is before you even get into heavy investing, pay off your debt. Make sure that you are paying off all high-interest debt because those interest rates are a trap. So that could be credit cards or payday loans or basically anything above 7 or 8% interest. And once that is gone, you are going to free up cash flow and you are also going to be reducing your risk. So make sure you consider all these things when it comes to investing during a recession. Now, the next thing you can do is recession-proof your lifestyle, and this part matters a lot more than people realize because habits are hard to break. You do not need to live like you are broke and miserable. You just need to live very strategically and keep your overhead low. So one of the first things you can do here is make sure that you keep your fixed cost low. The lower your fixed expenses are, the more flexible you are when things go sideways. Try to avoid locking yourself into a luxury apartment or a super high car payment, or a long-term lease that you know you cannot afford if your income drops by 20%. That is something you want to avoid at all costs. So try to keep fixed costs low so you have more room to maneuver. But another thing you want to do that is pretty important is try to build a recession-proof social circle. So what I mean by this is try to spend your time around people who are motivated, people that are working on something, and people that are improving their skills, and people that are financially responsible instead of people who blow their whole check on weekends. Don't surround yourself with people that are just absolutely terrible with money. They are going to influence you to spend a lot of money when you should be saving, especially during a time where job stability is not there, and you are trying to build that cushion. Try to surround yourself with people that are going to be good financial influences on you. But also, you should not care what people think about your car or your clothes. So make sure that you have that discipline to say no if you don't want to do something expensive. And then the last thing here is to maintain your health because health problems become financial problems. So make sure that you are sleeping good and eating healthy food and exercising. All of these things are extremely important, especially when stress levels start to rise. So that is how you can recession-proof your lifestyle and stay ahead of the game. So now the next thing you got to do is prepare for opportunities. Because in a recession, the biggest wealth transfer in history happens. It goes from people who panic to people who prepare. This is when you will see stocks go on sale and real estate prices will finally soften. Businesses are going to sell for cheap and side hustles grow because competition decreases. You do not need a ton of money to take advantage of this. You just need to be ready when the opportunity presents itself. So if you have cash and if you have a lot of high skills, you are winning. If you have low expenses and a stable income, you are going to be able to take opportunities. Opportunities that most people cannot even dream of because they are too busy surviving. And so I hope my last video did not scare a ton of people. But at the end of the day, I am not trying to fear Munger. But I do think that recessions are not something that you should fear. They are something that you should prepare for like a professional. And when you are in your 20s, you are not behind and you are not late. You are actually in the decade where small decisions have the biggest payoff in the long run. So make sure you build your emergency fund and stack your skills and protect your income. Invest consistently and keep your expenses manageable. And finally, make sure that you stay calm. If you do all these things, you are not only going to just survive the next recession, you are going to come out of it stronger and smarter and feeling a lot more financially secure. So that is it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found some value in it. If you did, drop a like down below and hit that subscribe button for more wealth logic. Stay boring, stay patient. Peace.